गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। We are studying this text, a short text called Nirvana Shatkam. In our last session, we covered up to the third shloka. In the second shloka, Adi Shankaracharya ji says, न च प्राणसन्यः न वै पंचवायुः न वा सप्तधातुः न वा पंचकोशः न वाक्पाणिपादं न च उपस्थपायु चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम. Now, till our last session, we have seen Adi Shankaracharya ji from his standpoint of realization. He is talking about what he is not. Now, when these are said, like in the first look also, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Na Aham, न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च प्राण नेत्रे घ्राण नेत्रे न च व्योम भूमिर न तेजो न vayu. So now all this he's saying that I am neither this mind, intellect, ego, chitta, memory, nor the ears, tongue, nose, eyes, and of course the skin and the pancha mahabhuta, none of these. And then again in the second shloka he repeats about the prana, pranavayu, and of course the five vayus, pranavayu, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. So none of these I am, he says. Now Vedanta is all about learning to unlearn. Until now, we have taken millions of lives, millions of births we have taken. And we have identified with these. We have learned that we are all these. Though actually nobody taught us that. Since birth until now, nobody told us that you are this body. But we have accepted it. That we are the body. So, we have learned that I am the mind, the intellect, the body, the sense organs, the organs of action. This is what I am. The pranas, the pancha pranas, mind and its contents called the emotions, feelings, sentiments, intellect and its contents called the thoughts. So these we have taken for granted or assumed that that is what we are. Now Vedanta tells us to unlearn what you have assumed, what you have learned without anybody teaching you about it, anybody telling you about it. If anybody refers to our body or any parts of the body, they say your eyes, your ears, your leg, your hand. We also refer to it as my leg, my hand, my eyes, my ears, and so on. but not I the leg, I the hand, I the eyes. And then we assumed it to be I. Now, Vedanta is all about learning to unlearn what the self is not, what we have assumed to be the self, which is not. Now we have to unlearn. I learned that I am this body. Now I have to unlearn that I am not this body. I am this body, I have to unlearn now. So this unlearning process is what Vedanta is all about. Now the one who has realized, then he says that I am none of these. So here the Pancha Pranas, the Sapta Dhatu, the skin, the flesh, blood, bone, fats, bone marrow, muscles, and so on. So this Sapta Dhatu, none of these I am. And then of course the Pancha Kosha, the five sheaths, the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So the food sheath, the vital air sheath, the mind sheath, the intellect sheath, and the last one, the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. So none of these I am. Navak Panipadam, the organs of action, the organs of speech, organs of action, the hands, organ of locomotion, the legs, and then organs of procreation and excretion. So none of these I am, Chidananda Rupa, and at the end, what I am is the blissful nature of myself, the Rupa, pure consciousness, pure awareness, blissful awareness. Shivoham, Shivoham. It is the auspicious, most auspicious. Shivoham, Shivoham. So, this was the second shloka we contemplated in our last session. Then in the third shloka we saw, Name dvesha ragav, name lobha mohav, मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्य भाव न धर्मो न च अर्थ न कामो न मोक्ष. So now further I am none of the modifications of the mind. The raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. Then of course the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, the six main modifications of the mind. Kama, the desire, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, moha, delusion, mada, arrogance, matsarya, jealousy. So these are the modifications of the mind. When I'm not the mind, then its contents are also not I. I've got nothing to do with the contents of the mind when I'm not the mind itself. Na dharma, na cha artha, na kama, na moksha. So again, these are the four purusharthas in a person's life, in a grihastha's life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So in a grihastha's life, of course, he has to earn money and then fulfill the desires, but it has to be within the limitations of dharma purushartha and moksha purushartha. And everybody has to remember these four purushartha, and the end of it is moksha purushartha, liberation. Liberation from all limitations. So these achievements, now the one who has realized the self, he has got none of this purushartha. He is beyond varnashrama. So, and beyond all the purusharthas also. So no varna, no ashrama. Varna, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or the ashrama, brahmacharya, grihastha vanaprastha and sannyasa ashram. So neither these ashrams nor varna and nor these four purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So he is beyond varnashrama and the four purusharthas related to this varnashrama. So they are related to the ashrama only. The one who has realized the self is beyond all this varnashrama and therefore no purushartha applies to him. So that is the realizer statement. Up till here we had studied in our last session. Today we'll take up a new shloka, the fourth shloka. Na punyam na papam, na saukhyam na dukkham, na mantro na tirtha, na veda na yajnaha. Aham bhojanam naiva bhojya na bhokta, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Na punyam na papam, saukhyam na dukkham, na mantraha, na tirtaha, na vedaha, na yajnaha. Aham bhojanam, na eva bhojyam, na bhokta. Chidananda rupa shivaha, aham shivaha, aham. So now Adi Shankaracharya now goes further. Na punyam na papam, na saukhyam na dukkham. Neither sin nor merit. Punyam merit, papa sin. So beyond punya papa. Now punya and papa, they are one set of pairs of opposites that he mentions here. So there are different sets of pairs of opposites. Punya papa, dharma adharma, hinsa ahimsa, swarga narka, sukha dukkha. So they are all the pairs of opposites. They are pairs of opposites. They all fall into dualism. And of course, the absolute truth is beyond the pairs of opposites, which now Adi Shankaracharya, from his standpoint of realization, he says, now I am none of these. So to whom does this punya and papa matter? To the one who has not realized the self. To him, this matters, na punyam na papam. If he is sattvika, predominantly sattvika, and he does good karmas, positive karmas, so he'll get the positive result, which in the form of happiness, joy, or pleasure. And if he indulges in the negative karmas, the wrong karmas, the evil, then of course he'll reap the fruits of misery, sorrow, and pain, dukkham, sukha dukkham. Now they are again in the realms of relative existence, where these pairs are there, because absolute truth is beyond all these pairs, beyond sukha dukkha, beyond swarga narka, and so on. So papa and punya. Now papa and punya, it is only in the realms of relative existence, because from the absolute standpoint also, if you look at it, there is no punya, no papa, no dharma, no adharma. All the actions that is performed, these actions are subject to the circumstances. Is a particular action performed in a particular place, at a particular time, in a particular circumstances, on a particular person, with a particular intention, may be good, and the same action performed on some other person, in some other place, at other times, with a different motive, it may be bad. Actions may be the same, but depending upon so many other factors, it will be negative. And therefore, a negative result, negative fruit will result. Like the example a soldier who is defending the borders of his nation, his country, against the enemies. And when the enemies try to invade or intrude, he has got the right to use his weapon to kill them. And when he kills the enemy soldiers on the battlefield, on the borders of his frontiers of his nation, he is rewarded for his bravery. Now, if he comes home on vacation and picks up a fight with his neighbor, and out of anger he shoots him dead. Now, what has happened is that he killed several enemy soldiers on the frontier and he got the rewarded with the bravery award and so on, and was honored by the nation. But now he picked up a fight with the neighbor and killed him. In both the places, killing has happened. But in one place, he was honored by the nation, he was rewarded also. And now in the other place, he has committed the same action, but now that will be counted as papa. Because here the motive was different. Out of anger, he acted. There, the motive was protecting the nation for the samashti phala, for the samashti good. So, action was the same. He killed here, he killed there also. But then, what determines the quality of action is the motive behind it. Where the action was performed, on whom it was performed, when it was performed, in what circumstance it was performed, and what was the motivation behind that action. What was the motive? That will determine when the action was good or bad, meritorious or sinful, dharmic or adharmic. So, in the absolute sense, there is no such thing as punya or papa from the absolute standpoint, because other than that pure self, nothing else exists. So where is the question of any punya or papa there? This is only in the relative existence. So in the previous shlokas also we have seen na sapta dhatu. If you look at this body itself, made out of this dhatu, the skeleton is there, which is the support for the entire body. Without the skeleton, this will be just a ball of mass of flesh, shapeless mass of flesh. So the skeleton that has got bone marrow, the bone and the bone marrow, and within the skeleton, all the organs are there. Then organs are covered by the fat and muscle. The bones are covered with cartilage and collagen, and then they are covered with flesh and skin. All matter. And then the jiva bhava enters this matter and enlivens this, and then this is the form after that. So, and then with this skeleton and its contents covered by nicely packaged in the skin of different color and all that thing. Without the skin covering all that, even a bird will not sit on that. Only flies will be moving around it. So this package is nicely packed in a skin of different colors. And then we identify with this mass of bones and flesh and blood and bone marrow and all that thing and call it as I, this matter. And this consciousness that enlivens this one single form is the same consciousness that enlivens 8 billion forms, human forms on the planet Earth. It is not different, the same one. And then after identification, and then this punya, papa, and sukha and dukkha, all that thing comes. As long as that pure self was there, no ignorance of the self was there, no identification with this matter envelopments called the Panchakoshas. That was not there. Then I alone exist. And we every day experience this in the deep sleep state, in the Sushupti Avastha. None of this is there, but it is in the state of ignorance. If we can wake up from the deep sleep state minus the ego, then we have achieved the ultimate goal of human existence. So, na punyam, na papam, na saukhyam, na dukkham. Now, in the next line, Adi Shankaracharya says, na mantro, na tirtham, na veda, na yajnaha. Mantra. The chanting of the Vedic mantras, it has got its own benefits. Vedic mantras only in the path of Jnana Yoga, we study the mantras of Upanishads. So they are part of Vedic mantra. So Vedanta or the Upanishads. So these mantras we study and then reflect and contemplate on those mantras. So now Adi Shankaracharya says, now there is no mantra, no tirtha, no going on any pilgrimage. Na Vedaha, for whom it is not for the one who is a seeker on the spiritual path. This doesn't apply to him. You have to be very clear about it. For whom is this applicable? Because this is composed by a realized master and he's talking about his own realization. So, it would be madness if a seeker on the spiritual path without realizing the self that, okay, I don't have to do all that. I don't have to chant any mantras. I don't have to study the Vedas or go on a pilgrimage or perform sacrificial rituals like yajna, havan, and so on. All these are required for the seeker on the spiritual path. We have studied Amrit Bindu Upanishad. And if you remember, in Amrit Bindu Upanishad, there is one mantra which says, Grantham Abhyasya Medhavi Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha Palalamiva Dhanyarthi Tyajet Grantham Asheshataha. So now, Grantham Abhyasya Medhavi. Medhavi, the intelligent one, the wise one, after studying the text thoroughly, the scriptures thoroughly, having understood the jnana and vijnana in that thoroughly, then Grantham Abhyasya Medhavi Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha Palalam Iva Dhanyarthi, as the one desirer of grains, how he discards the husk and just takes the grain. Palalam Iva Dhanyarthi Tyajet Grantham Asheshataha. And then he gives up all the text, all the scriptural text he gives up. Now he doesn't need it. So that is clearly there. That is after the study of the scriptures, after reflection and contemplation, Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana of the scriptures, then only, not before that. We have to cross a river. We are on this side and then we have to go on the other side. We have to cross the river. So we have to use a boat to cross the river. Only after crossing the river and then we get to our goal of reaching the other side of the river, then only we can discard the boat, not before crossing the river. That will be foolishness. So, having reached the destination, then we don't need that boat anymore. That was a final destination. We have reached there. Now we can discard the boat. So, similarly, if we have not reached the goal of self-realization, then we can't give up this. A seeker on the spiritual path reading this should not say that, okay, now I don't need to chant any mantra. because I am not this mantra, or I don't need to go on pilgrimage or study the scriptures, all that thing. No, because we have to see who has composed it and from what standpoint he's talking. So this is what we will also say once we realize the self. But before realization, we can't chant this like that, as if we are that. But we can, of course, we can chant and reflect over that, meditate over it, contemplate over it. Then further, he says, Aham bhojanam na eva bhojyam na bhokta. So here the triputi or the triad of experiencer, object experienced, and the relationship between the two called the experience. So that is what Adi Shankaraji is saying here. I am neither the experiencer nor the object experienced, nor the relationship between the two called the experience. So, aham bhojanam na eva bhojyam na bhokta. So, there is no doership notion nor experiencership notion left, because once the ego gets dissolved, what is there now? Nothing else. The pure self only remains. Shuddha aham. So none of these. Now the objects of experience are at the five sensory perception, that which we see with our eyes, what we hear with our ears, what we smell with our nose, taste with our skin, and feel, taste with our tongue, and feel with our skin. So these are the five sensory objects experienced at the five sensory levels. So these are the only ones, and none of these I am, because now realization is of pure self, not any part of the body, the sense organs, the mind, intellect, organs of actions, and so on. So when I am none of these, then their objects also and their experiences also, none of that, nor the experience of that. So neither, if the ego is not there, then there is neither a doer nor the experiencer, with nothing to do with the objects of experience and so on, because nothing exists other than the self. So Chidananda Rupa Shivoha, Shivo Aham, Shivo Aham. So then says, then what I am of the nature of blissful awareness, pure blissful awareness, which is auspicious. Now, having said this in the fourth, then we enter the fifth shloka. Fifth shloka, now Adi Shankaracharya says, न मे मृत्यु शंका न मे जाति भेद पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बंधुर्न मित्रं गुरु नैव शिष्य चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम न मे मृत्यु शंका न मे जाति भेद पिता न एव मे न एव माता न जन्म न बंधु न मित्रं गुरु न एव शिष्य चिदानंद रूप शिवो अहम शिवो. Now here, न मे मृत्यु शंका न मे जाति भेद. Mrityu Shanka. Mrityu Shanka is the fear of death. We have seen this several times. We are afflicted with mainly three types of fear. Fear of death, fear of deception. Fear of deception is due to ignorance. And then the fear of misery, sorrow, or pain. These three are the predominant fear we have. Out of that, the overwhelming fear is the fear of death. We are prepared to be sometimes deceived also, no problem. Some sorrows or misery or pain we are ready to suffer, but we don't want death. Because we feel death is going out of existence. Or if we think that we have done something bad or something, we'll end up in some place where we'll be suffering eternally and so on. And if this is not there, if you don't believe in the existence of this Swarga and Narka, and then of course, if you are atheist, then it doesn't matter. Then a person dies and that's the end of it. Even that is also good. Don't have to suffer, but we don't want to get out of existence. Now, Mrityu Shanka is why? Because of our wrong identity. We are identified with the body, and body is subject to destruction. In some time, some point of time, it is subject to destruction. So, but the problem is, we are pure self, and there is no question of any death or destruction for us. But then we are ignorant of that, and therefore, but in our subconscious mind, we we know that death is not for me, the subconscious mind says. But because of this identity, oh, one day I will die, I don't want to die. So because of the wrong identity and the ignorance of the real self, this fear will come. Because we are of the nature of existence absolute, knowledge absolute, and bliss absolute. So, though we are of the nature, even in our ignorance, we are the same. Even at this very moment, we are the same. But the problem is, because of ignorance, because of wrong identity, then we have this fear. One day I will die. Because of my lack of knowledge, I may get deceived by some people. Somebody may deceive me regarding something. And then I will suffer the sorrows, miseries, and pains of life, and so on, because of wrong identity. The one who is of the pure blissful nature, infinite blissful nature, now, like a petty jiva, is thinking like this. So, only when we realize the self, then instantly the fear will disappear. This is one reason, because we are of the nature of infinite bliss, where there is no birth or death for us. When there is no birth, there is no question of any death as such. So, we are of this nature and of the nature of infinite bliss. Therefore, we cannot tolerate even slightest sorrow, misery, or pain in our life. We cannot tolerate that because it is against our essential nature. We cannot tolerate even the thought of death. Of course, we keep saying that, okay, one day everybody has to die and I will also die. We say, for saying purpose, we do say that. And we see people dying also around in our neighborhood and things like that. But that is just to say. But the fear of death is there. So fear of death, and because of this wrong identity, that I consider myself to be the body and body is bound to die someday. So therefore this fear is there. Now, once we realize the self, that our self, the pure self is beginningless and eternal, it was never born, so there is no question of any death for that. It has always existed. So existence absolute, always existed. And it is of the nature of pure knowledge, pure awareness, and therefore there is no fear of death or deception. and it is of the nature of infinite bliss. So there is no fear of any sorrow, misery, or pain. So, Name Mrityu Shanka, that realization of self will, will be transcending the fear of these three. Because of our essential nature being Chidananda, Satchidananda, therefore we cannot accept death, nor deception, nor any sorrow, misery, or pain. Like our eyes are very sensitive. If any foreign particle falls in the eye, immediately the tears will come to get rid of it. Even a small piece of hair falls in our eye, immediately the tears will come to get rid of it. It cannot tolerate any foreign particle. Similarly, our essential nature is Satchidananda, and therefore it cannot tolerate even a thought of death or deception or sorrow, misery, or pain. Even slightest, it cannot tolerate because of this nature. So, Name Mrityu Shanka, Name Jati Bheda. Jati Bheda. Now, Jati, actually, here it is meant as Varna Bheda. Jati has got a different meaning also. Jati means species also. Different species of animal is also Jati, different species of plant, Jati. And generally, the caste in English, what we say, it is Varna in Sanskrit, Varna Bheda. So, there is no Varna Bheda. Where is the question of Varna Bheda? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That is related to the karma, guna and karma. So Varna Bheda. Varna Bheda, now Varnashram Vyavastha is there, spoken about in Sanatan Dharma. But one thing we have to be very sure about. This Varna is not by birth. It should be very clear. We have seen this in great detail. We discussed this when we were doing Manisha Panchakam. Vedas are very clear. Vedas say that Janmana Jayate Shudraha. Who is saying that Vedas are the highest text? Shruti Mata is saying that highest text. After Shruti comes Smriti, and then the Puranas, and then the Ityasas. The highest is Shruti. Shruti Mata is saying that Janmana Jayate Shudraha. That is, by birth, everybody is Shudra, irrespective of where he or she may be born, in which family, which lineage, wherever. By birth, everybody is Shudra. Janmana Jayate Shudraha. Sanskarat or Karmanat Bhavet Vipraha. So by Sanskara or Karma, he becomes Vipraha. Veda Pathat Bhavet Vipraha. So now Dvijaha, Sanskarat or Karmanat becomes Dvijaha and Veda Pathat Bhavet Vipraha. So by birth, everybody is a Shudra, and by Sanskara, by Karma, he is Dvija. And then by Veda Pata, he becomes Vipraha. Brahma Janati Brahmana. And the one who has realized the self, Brahma, he is a Brahmana. Without realization of the self, nobody is a Brahmana. So our Shruti Mata is very clear about it. And of course, in one place also it says that Brahmano Mukham Asit, Bahu Rajanya Krutaha, Uru Tadasyayat Vaishyaha, Padmyam Shudro Ajayata. So of one form only, all these four varnas are spoken of. So if from the feet, Shudra, and from the Mukha, Brahmana, that is also spoken of in Vedas. Then of course in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Chaturvarna Maya Shrishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. I have created these four varnas. And it is based on what? It is based on guna and karma, not on birth. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is also very clear about it. Vedas are also very clear about it. Nobody is a born Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Everybody is born Shudra only. Then by guna and karma and sanskara will decide whether he becomes a Vaishya, Kshatriya or Brahmana. So one who has realized the self is beyond all this varna. So न मे मृत्यु शंका न मे जाति भेद. Now पिता न एव मे न एव माता न जन्म. There is no birth for me. I was never born. There is no father and no mother. And then न बंधु न मित्र न गुरु न एव शिष्य. I don't have any relatives, any bandhu, nor friends, nor guru, nor shishya. Now, this statement is only applicable to the one who has realized that truth. One example we'll take up here, very simple one. We have seen that, we know also already. When a person says dream is an illusion, who is saying this? Waker is saying this, that dream is an illusion. But the dreamer in the dream world doesn't say that dream is an illusion. For him, the dream world, the experiences of the dream world is as real to him as the experiences of the waking world is real to the waker. Only when the dreamer awakens to the waking plane of consciousness, then he calls the dream an illusion, not otherwise. So, that should be applicable. So, now, dream is an illusion. The statement is applicable only to the waker, not to the dreamer. So the one who has awakened to his pure self, his real self. So for him, these statements will be applicable. That I have no fear of death, or I have no varna ashrama, I have no father nor mother, no birth also, because the pure consciousness, the pure self is the substratum of everything. I always existed. When the entire cosmos also dissolves, my existence will continue. I am the substratum of the Anantakoti Brahmanda as a pure self, pure consciousness. And this pure consciousness doesn't have any father or mother or birth or anything like that. The body is born and the body dies. There is a birth and death for the body, and there may be parents for the body who have given birth to a particular form. But as the pure self existed, which is beginningless and eternal, it has got no father or mother, no parents or anything like that. It is a pure self. And therefore no birth, no death. And such a one who is one without a second, there cannot be any relatives or friends. And for that pure self, the pure consciousness, which is beginningless and eternal, there is no guru or there is no question of any shishya. Guru or shishya also is not there. Because that alone exists and that alone I am. In that non-dual self, the duality of Guru and Shishya is also not there. So, this is for the waker, not for the dreamer in the dream world. So, there should be no doubt about that. Otherwise, there's somebody reading this, okay, is that so? So, I don't have any father, no mother, no birth, no relatives, no friends, no guru, no shishya. Okay. And then what? Without realizing the self, making such a statement is not right. We can read this, we can contemplate on that. How is that possible? We have to dive deeper into our own consciousness, deeper, and then realize the self. And then we can make such a statement, having realized the self. Because the self doesn't have any parents or any birth or death or anything like that, but not the form. The form was born at some point in time and it will die at some point in time. It may have parents, mother and father and all those things, but I as the pure self, it doesn't have any parents. And there is no duality of Guru Shishya also in the pure self, in the absolute truth. So, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Now, having said that, now here, until the fifth shloka, Adi Shankaracharya ji is giving us a lesson in unlearning of what we have learned for lives together, for millions of births. He is giving a lesson of unlearning what we have learned. I am this, I am that, I am like this, I am like that, I belong to this Varna, this ashram. So, Vedanta is all about unlearning, learning to unlearn what we are not, what we have learned over millions of lives to be the self. That has to be discarded. So, here in the first five shlokas, he has given this unlearning process. But at the end of each shloka, he reminds that we are of the nature of pure blissful self, blissful awareness, which is very auspicious. Now, having said that in the first five shloka, in the sixth shloka, now he asserts what he is. Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupa विभुर्व्याप सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिर्न बन्धः चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम अहम निर्विकल्पः निराकार रूपः विभुः व्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिः न बन्धः चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम. So now the assertion comes after negation, what I am not, now what I am. That assertion comes here. Aham nirvikalpaha. Nirvikalpaha. There is no vikalpa. Vikalpa, when there are no thoughts. When there are no thoughts, what does it mean? There is no question of any duality. One non-dual self. Aham nirvikalpaha. Nothing exists other than I, the pure self. Nirvikalpa. So, non-dual reality. Nothing exists other than I, the pure self. Non-duality. Nirakara rupaha. Now, if there is an akara, then there is limitations. Limitations of space, time, and causation. If there is a rupa, if there is akara, if there is a form, then there is a limitation. There are limitations of space, time, and causation. So there is no form, no rupa, no akara in the pure self. And therefore, this cannot be limited by space, time, and causation. So therefore, in the next line it says, Vibhuhu Vyapya. Vibhuhu mighty. Nothing exists other than that. And then Vyapya. Vyapya is all pervading. Sarvatra, everywhere, all pervading. So only one entity, non-dual, all pervading, the pure self. And therefore, because now in fact it has to be all pervading, then it cannot have any form. It cannot have any quality. It cannot have any colors or quality or form. It has to be an all pervading entity, simultaneously everywhere. Other than itself, nothing is there. Everything else has got, everything else is only a projection on this substratum of pure self. So, Vyapya Sarvatra. So, Vyapya Sarvatra means it is beyond the limitations of any form. So, as it was Nirakara, there cannot be any form. Form is limited, but this is Vyapya, that means there is no form. Vibhuhu Vyapya Sarvatram Sarvendriyanam. Sarvendriyanam pervades through all the senses, sense organs, organs of action. Of course, now here it is not a one form through which it pervades through. If it is an all-pervading entity, it pervades in and through all things and beings, sentient and insentient, living or non-living. So, inert or sentient, everything. It is all pervading. Because other than it, nothing else exists. If something exists other than that pure self, it is because we are perceiving the entire existence with the limitations of our sense organs. So therefore, we perceive that, but in the absolute self, none of these exist. They are only projections. Like a movie, it goes, keeps on changing. Like the dream world, everything exists in the dream world. In in the dream world, the entire cosmos is there: sun, moon, stars, earth, plants, trees, animals, creatures, mountains, rivers, oceans, everything is there in the dream world. And for the dreamer, it is all very real. Only how so many names and forms and so many varieties and so vast. When we talk of cosmoses, it is so vast, massive. And it is all there in the dream world. And the next moment, when the dreamer wakes up, it all disappears. And where was it then? The same thing is with the waking world. Waking, the difference only is that the dream world is a projection of the individual mind. The waking world is a projection of the total mind. So this seems to last more than the dream world. And therefore, because we are in the dream world only for maximum 60 to 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes, no more than that. The longest dream will be of 60 to 90 seconds only. Whereas in the waking world, we are there for 16, 17, 18 hours. And therefore, you take this to be real. And of course, when we wake up, we see the same world, things like that. But it is also a projection of the total mind. Only when we awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness, then we'll never ever take this world to be serious. As a dreamer, we take dream to be serious, real, and get affected by that. But as soon as we wake up, we laugh it off. Oh, it was just an illusion. I was unnecessarily getting serious about things there. As soon as we awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness from the waking plane, then this waking world also will have the same value as we had for our dream world. So, Sarvatra Sarvendriyan. So, this is all pervading everywhere. It is not the question of just an individual sense organs or anything like that. It is a substratum of everything. And that which is a substratum pervades in and through everything. If the space is the substratum of the solid matter, water, air, fire, and everything, it is a substratum for all the planets. All the planets are there in the space. So space will pervade in and through everything. Even the solid looking matter will have space inside. More than 99.99% of an atom has got empty space. So the solid looking iron piece has got iron atoms. That atom will have empty space. It's all pervading. So also, subtler and the substratum of even space is the pure self. So it is all pervading and the substratum of everything. Vibhuhu Vyapa Sarvatra Sarvendriyanam. सदा में समत्वम. Sada में samatvam. I am always in equanimity. The equipoise is always maintained. There is no this short-lived excitement and things like that. Equipoise in everything. You don't get excited by things. You see something good, something bad, and the changes in the emotions and feelings and sentiments like that. That doesn't affect what is going on around on this planet or this sansara or this cosmos. So sada mein samatvam, that equipoise is there always. Na muktihi, na bandha. When realization of self, when there is no bondage at all, even now also there is no bondage, but because of our ignorance, we feel bound. So when there is no bondage, where is the question of liberation then? Na bandhu, na bandha, na mukti. So neither there is a bondage nor moksha, liberation. So this has come in the Amrit Bindu Upanishad also. न निरोधो न च उत्पत्ति न बद्धो न च साधक न मुमुक्षु न वै मुक्तः इत्येष परमार्थतः. What is the absolute truth now? न निरोधो न च मुक्तिः. There is neither destruction nor creation. न बद्ध न च साधक. Neither there is anybody bound nor there is any seeker seeking liberation. न मुमुक्षु न वै मुक्तः. There is neither one seeking liberation nor there is something called as moksha, muktah, liberated one. Ityesha Paramarthata. This is the absolute truth. Now, who can make such a statement? The one who has realized the self only can make such a statement. Na nirodho na cha utpattihi na baddho na cha sadhaka. Because when he realizes the self, ekameva advitiya, from his standpoint, nothing else is other than himself, the self. And there is no bondage, no liberation, no birth, no death, no beginning, no end, nothing like that. So he can make such a statement, mukti hina bandha. The one who is still on the spiritual path and struggling to realize the self, he has to further go deeper into contemplation of the pure self. And then when he realizes it, then of course, then he can make this statement because then nothing else is there other than himself. Chidananda Rupa Shiva Aham Shivo Aham. So this pure blissful awareness, the auspicious, this is what I am. So this is what our Sakshat Swarup is. And because of ignorance, and because of the nature of the mind being Bahirmukha, extrovert, so it flows out of the five sense organs and keeps on gathering the knowledge of this limited world. And because of a blissful nature, our essential nature is blissful, happiness. But not knowing that, we keep seeking happiness from the external world. And therefore, mind is naturally extrovert. Where can I get some kind of happiness, joy, pleasure? No. In some sights, in something to hear or smell or taste or pleasurable feeling, touch, and things like that. That is where we go on seeking like that. And for not one or two lives, millions of lives, enough is enough. It is about time we transcend this. So the sankalpa should be very strong. No more taking form. And before dropping this form, realize the self and get out of all the limitations. With this, we conclude this small text of 6 verses, Nirvana Shatkam. This is Adi Shankaracharya's realization is what is put here. And it is a good text for meditation. For Vedantic seeker, this is very good for meditation. Now, if anybody has got any questions on this Nirvana Shatkam.
Swamiji,
Yes.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Uh, a small confusion is that
Hmm.
we have used the word bliss or ananda in
Hmm.
Anandamay Kosha or bliss sheet.
Hmm.
At the same time, we have used this word of our nature, Sachit Ananda, that is
Hmm.
bliss.
Hmm.
In the koshas, Anandamay Kosha,
Hmm.
it is asking us to shade this, not shade, but it's something external to it. Is asking for all the five kosha, I am not. That is what it says.
Hmm.
And at the same time, in the same breath, we say that my nature is Satchit Anand.
Hmm.
I'm laying the emphasis on this Anand.
Hmm.
Once in the shit, it is asking us to discard it.
Hmm.
In the second one, it is accepted. We are accepting as my nature, one of the Satchit Anand out of that Anand. So, what is
Hmm.
the difference?
Difference between the Anandamaya Kosha and our essential nature of Satchidananda.
Hmm.
Hmm. Anandamaya Kosha, the only difference is ignorance.
Hmm.
There is no awareness. The ignorance is there. That is the only difference because our essential nature is even at this very moment, we are the same infinite blissful self, nothing less than that.
Hmm.
But because of our ignorance, we are not aware of it. Now, in Anandamaya Kosha, temporarily, ego is absorbed into its source or its absence is there. And we are closest, so to say, to our own real self. And therefore, we are in a blissful state without actually indulging in any objects of this world. And therefore, a person who wakes up from the deep sleep state, the first statement is, I didn't know anything. But the very next statement is, but I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
But it was all in ignorance. And when we say our essential nature is that infinite blissful self, and we get a small glimpse of it in the deep sleep state because it is all in ignorance.
Okay.
Hmm. So we are closest to ourself in the deep sleep state because of the absence of ego, temporary absence of ego. We are closest to that. So we get a glimpse of that blissful state. This is the what you call the precursor, one can say, or an indication that we can be infinitely blissful without needing to indulge in any objects of this world. If that
Hmm.
deep sleep state experience gives some hint that I was so happy, I enjoyed it. That was a good sleep I had. I enjoyed it very much. Without indulging in any object, you enjoyed it. So imagine if it is in our realization, in the waking plane of consciousness, transcending the relative existence, the identity with the body, mind, intellect equipment. That will be infinite bliss. And this is just a glimpse. Anandamaya Kosha is just a glimpse. We are, of course, closest to our own real self at that time because of the absence of the ego. Therefore, in the deep sleep state, a mountain of sorrow or misery or pain must have collapsed over us in the waking plane of consciousness, and same in the dream also, but they don't touch us in the deep sleep state. The only difference is between the waking and the dream on one side and the deep sleep on the other side is the absence of the ego. So ego is the culprit that is causing all the problem. If the ego is dissolved, the problem solved.
Hmm.
It is only the ego. Realization is dissolving this ego only and nothing else. Ego is causing all the problem. Ego identifies with everything. And the funny part of ego is that it appears in its own absence, like the mirage water.
Hmm.
So once that is gone, then Ananda, Ananda.
Swamiji, Satya Sai Baba has written certain books, few books himself with his own handwriting.
Mhm.
One of them, I don't remember whether it is Jnana Vahini or Dhyan Vahini.
Hmm.
In that he has mentioned that
Hmm.
this deep sleep state is akin to samadhi. Not the samadhi, but akin to samadhi.
Akin to samadhi, yes, because there is ignorance. In samadhi, you are fully aware.
Hmm.
That awareness is there. You transcend your intellect. In
Hmm.
samadhi state, you transcend your intellect, but awareness is fully there.
Second, Swamiji,
Hmm.
in the sixth shloka,
Hmm.
that Naiva Muktir na Maya, in that particular line,
Bandha. Na
Bandha.
muktir na bandha.
And the way you explain,
Hmm.
I think this is the biggest joke we are playing on upon ourselves. Isn't it, Swamiji?
Yes, it is the example I gave, the story I gave so many times. A person is taking his donkeys to sell in the market. On the way, becomes dark. Then searches for an inn or lodge, and then he finds one. Then he starts tying his donkeys to a tree. And one donkey doesn't have enough rope to tie one donkey. So the owner of the inn says that you just make a symbol of tying him. So the owner of the donkey said that, are you sure it will be there when I wake up in the morning or it will disappear? No, no, you are rest assured it will be there. And then when he woke up in the morning, first thing he went and saw his donkeys all were there, even the one without the rope who was also sitting with other donkeys who were tied to the tree. So then he was very happy, he started untying all the donkeys. So all the other donkeys got up, but this fellow who was not tied to the tree, he is not getting up. So the innkeeper told the man, make the action of untying him, then he'll get up.
Hmm.
So when that action was meant, that donkey got up. This is what our state is.
And Swamiji, now third thing is
Hmm.
million thanks to you. A million thanks to you, Swamiji, for giving the book I Am That
Ah,
by Nisargadatta Maharaj.
yes. Now you
Though,
don't have to
though,
carry the book. You can listen to it whenever you are traveling. Also, you don't have to keep your eyes open to read it. You can keep
yeah,
listening.
though little difficult.
Hmm.
Not after 5 years of 5 years of your teaching, following your teachings,
Hmm.
almost sixth year.
Hmm.
But he's just fantastic, Swamiji.
Of course, of course. Nisarata Maharaj and Ramana Maharishi.
And Swamiji Ashtavakra also. Ashtavakra
Ashtavakra.
also.
Ashtavakra, of course, in the text they are there,
Uh,
but in the modern times, these Ramana Maharishi and Nisarata Maharaj, top
yes.
in the modern times. A recent history only. Nisarata Maharaj attained Samadhi in, I think, 1981 and
Mm.
Ramana Maharishi in 1950. So not too far away they are modern time. Of course, Ashtavakra is no doubt a scriptural text. They are there. But these two teachings, they only focus on the self and nothing else. Forget
Mm.
about God, creation, heaven, hell, cosmos, this and that. Just focus on the self. Who am
No,
I?
no roundabout,
No,
Swamiji.
no
Straight.
beating around the bush, no other fancy stories and things like that. Just
Yes.
focus on yourself. That's it.
And so difficult to, when you see him, it's so difficult to believe that he has written this. I mean, he has not written, but he has spoken and then recorded it, come in the book
Yeah.
form, Swamiji.
Maurice Friedman, he recorded all his question answer sessions, which was in, of course, they were in Marathi.
Yeah.
And then he translated into English. He stayed here in Mumbai. He learned Marathi. He recorded all the question answer sessions because Nisarata Maharaj's satsangs were only question answer sessions. Because he was not a Shrotriya, he was a Brahmanishta. So he could
Mm.
speak only from the highest standpoint, from his own realization. So it was recorded and then compiled by Maurice Friedman.
Mm.
Maurice Friedman himself met Ramana Maharshi also before coming to Nisarata Maharaj.
Okay.
And he had too many questions, and Ramana Maharshi, being mostly silent,
Mm.
so he used to impart from silence, but he had too many questions. So then he found Nisarata Maharaj. So all his questions were answered here with Nisarata Maharaj, and therefore he stayed here. And then compiled the text, his question answer sessions. He compiled it into the book, I Am That.
Okay, Swamiji, now we have completed um, Nirvana Shatakam.
Mhm.
I think, I suppose you will take the Vivek Chudamani Shlok from some 54 to 62
254,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, the 10 shlokas
Hmm.
for meditation that we
Hmm.
can take. No problem. So we'll do that.
Hmm.
So because it will be good with Nirvana Shatkam, the
Hmm.
10 shlokas on meditation, that will also help
Yes.
in our meditation on the self.
Hmm. Now, Swamiji,
Yes.
hmm, this is just a suggestion.
Hmm.
Such a long interval is not something which I expect, Swamiji. So,
Yeah,
so
of
what
course.
I say,
Hmm.
this is just a suggestion.
Hmm.
That if we miss, whenever you are in Bhiwandi, not in Nepal or North India,
Hmm.
if we miss Friday class,
Hmm.
cannot be some other day should be taken.
Yeah, we can take it on some other day. If I have no other commitment for that day, we can take it. No
Yeah,
problem.
you are see we can all for us it is convenient any day.
Ah,
So after
yeah.
seeing your commitment, you can suggest that this day
Yeah.
we'll take this class.
Yeah. If I have no other commitment, then we can
Hmm.
take it. If we miss on Friday, some other day we
Right.
can. No problem.
Okay. Okay, Swami. Thank you very much.
Okay, then.
Swamiji, Hariom,
Yes.
Swamiji.
Hariom, yes.
I have one small query. I was reading the book Parallel,
Hmm.
and the sixth verse, that is the
Hmm.
last one which we came across,
Hmm.
uh, in which there's a small portion which describes the self as Sada me samatvam.
Hmm.
I'm always the same, which it what means to say.
Uh-huh.
Down the line, it says life continues to move. The
Hmm.
body still acts. The
Hmm.
mind still thinks.
Hmm.
Emotions still rise when
Hmm.
appropriate.
Hmm.
But the sense of self controller,
Hmm.
a fragile self that
Hmm.
must manage everything,
Hmm.
is absent. Is this referring to the ego?
Yes, of course. It is ego only. Ego is
Okay.
absent. Once we realize the self,
Hmm.
ego is demolished. Then it will appear like a burnt rope. Because
Okay.
for others, this Mahatma Ji will be going through the usual routine.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
will not
Hmm.
know. So
Right.
the
Right.
actions will be done
Right.
like
Right.
Lord Buddha says, events happen, deeds are done, but there is no individual doer thereof. So he will be going through the motions of life.
Right.
His form will appear as if going through the motions of life for others. As far as he is concerned, it doesn't matter. If he has a purpose, if he has a mission for this world, then his body will be maintained. If there is no mission, if a person realizes the self and there is no mission in this
Hmm.
world,
Hmm.
according to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, his body will drop off within 21 days because then he will not take care of his body. He will be abiding in his blissful state, infinite blissful state. Why would he bother about his body?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
then for the body to survive, it has to be fed. But then he'll not bother because he doesn't have any mission in life.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
his body
Right.
will drop off within 21 days.
Right. Right, Swamiji. Thank you.
So anybody else or we conclude now?
I think we can conclude, Swamiji.
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om